Good morning and welcome. It's a little bit chilly, but it's a good time to kind of huddle together and have conversations that'll lead us into good times, better times as a nation. And I think now's the time. Some schools are on, some schools are off. Some kids are on holiday. They've been doing virtual schooling. Other kids have been off for the last 4 months. It is a very crucial time right now for us to have a discussion around education. And are we ready? Some places are, some places aren't. We need to get to a place where we don't leave any child behind as we move forward. COVID-19 has shifted things. It's just a catalyst that's shifted things to a new direction. And it's time for us to kind of face new things. And I've got an amazing panel with us who are on the cusp of making sure that journey moves forward. So welcome to the third episode of the Sunday Times Gen Next Digitized Conversations. I've got an amazing panel with me. First, I'd like to thank our partners, Sunday Times, HDI Youth Consultancy, and Shell, for making this possible. And if you have any comments, please send them through as well so that we can ask the panelists as they speak and as they go along. The next hour is all about you and the conversations that I had here from different perspectives, from a young person who's matriculant of the year to people getting ready for the next phase of their career if they've just finished varsity. The SABC, our public broadcaster, ensuring that different phases of kids' careers, whether it's grade R, whether it's grade 7, whether it's tertiary education, are covered and filled in some way. And then you have someone who's coming through and making sure that there's a bridging of a gap within the workspace in a creative space, getting ready, a creative director as well. So I'm going to introduce you to our guys who are doing some amazing things. If you have anything that you'd like to say, like I mentioned earlier, please send a message and let us know what it is. Our panelists this morning, Hanyani Sono, commissioning editor at the SABC, SABC Education, as I mentioned a little earlier with regards to the different phases of education, whether it's on radio or television, but also now, excitingly, online. We'll discuss that a little bit more. Lillian Bususu, who's from IIE Rosebank College, the National Graduate Skills Development Manager. She joins us this morning as well. Sasha Naidu, learner representative and Herald winner, matriculant of the year. It's a pretty cool thing, hey? I don't think I was matriculant of anything at any point. Huh? That is pretty cool. Jonathan Dennis, creative director, Publicis Group Africa, also joining us this morning. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Good morning, Kenilwe.
I think we can just kick things off with Hanyani, the public broadcaster. You touch all our lives at different points. Huh? We might be able to go out and get different packages and different things, but the one medium that everybody has access to is the public broadcaster, whether it's in television or in radio form. And that's a very powerful thing. It also speaks to different people in different languages, which cuts through many different things in terms of gaps. So let's kick things off with regards to the SABC. What is the mandate with regards to SABC and education?
All right, so SABC Education itself was established in 1996. This, you may remember, coincided with the establishment of the South African Constitution. So the whole idea behind it was about expanding access to education. So it was thought at the time that perhaps we could use broadcasting to help expand access into education. And so it was that SABC Education came about. So what we do is that we provide that extended support of educational access to learners across the country from grade R right straight to tertiary level.
Lillian, you are the National Graduate Skills Development Manager at Rosebank College.
Yeah.
What does that mean? So once everybody has gone through their process, what does that mean? What do you do with regards to getting learners ready for the real world?
I think it's important, for especially education institutions that young people are developed not only academically, but also to be work ready. And it should come from an environment, in a learning environment, because the basis of education is to actually build these people for the bigger world, for the outside world. It's not only in the confines of education itself, but education is that foundation that makes them see the bigger picture. So it's important from a learning environment that these young people are developed, not only academically, but also with the employability skills that many employers are actually complaining that when they come into their space, they don't possess the employability skills that they are looking for. So you find that young people, they end up navigating their own way into the world of work from their own frame of reference. And employers sometimes are not quite happy. So we prepare our graduates from that point of, it's not only academically, but we are also preparing you for the bigger picture, which is the bigger world. Whether you're going to go into entrepreneurship or self-employment or being an employee, there are skills that are required by the world of work that we need to upskill our young people with.
And that's the gap that you fill before they reach Jonathan, before Jonathan fills in those particular gaps as well. Jonathan Dennis, creative director at Publicis Group Africa. You work with brands, the very brands that young people are going to be employed in, the young people who are going to be the target of different campaigns from these brands. Tell us a little bit more about some exciting things around brands and education.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. We work with some of the biggest brands in the country at Publicis, and we speak to more people than our presidents of our own country do every day. So what we have to say is highly important, right? So I think our job at Publicis and as an agency, as advertisers and brands, is really to see how we can gear our brands to start making positive impacts on the youth's lives, so they can make a positive impact on the world, right? And also how we as an agency can develop tools that can give our young employees what they need to become the future industry leaders of tomorrow.
Tashin, you are that future. You matriculated last year, matriculant of the year. You're currently studying. You are the perfect example of going through a very traditional learning curve in terms of our schooling system, and now entering a world where you're sitting and writing your exams online and learning online. So there's some exciting things, but also sometimes a little bit scary around that. Tell us a little bit more about your experience right now in this period around learning online.
Yeah, it's been incredibly different. I mean, I think you spend your whole high school career and you think about university one day and what's going to happen and tertiary education. And I spent 2 months there, and then I was back home, and then COVID hit, so I was learning online. It's been very different, but in a lot of ways similar. It's still been a lot of hard work, a lot of grafting, putting pen to paper and really getting things done, but then obviously answering it online. So a lot of different things. Obviously now things are open book. There's different ways of assessment, but still just getting the work done, trying to focus and trying to make it as normal as possible.
I think sometimes we take it for granted that the way you live and the way you do things are the same way that other people do. And education and this particular period has made that glaringly obvious that that's not the case. As I mentioned earlier, some children haven't been in school for 3 months. Other children have been able to continue their education with virtual online learning. As the SABC, Hanyani,
Yes.
What are the ways that you're trying to bridge that gap? We have a legacy of an education system which was designed at the time to have different education systems for people of different races. We find ourselves with infrastructure at the moment that isn't the same across the board. How is the SAVC trying to bridge that particular gap?
All right. So I think one thing that COVID-19 has done, Kinelwe, is that it has put online learning into a sharp focus. So what that has done is that it has forced educators to really rethink the sector in a sense that given the science behind the virus, how do we then continue with the business of learning or the practice of teaching and learning? So then what has happened now is that we note that technology or online learning seem to be gaining more appreciation than ever before. And because of that, what we have done, we have put a number of online classrooms that you can access online. We have a YouTube streaming service where we stream our newly launched SABC Education. I don't know if you're aware of, but through that online streaming, learners are able to receive curriculum content that is CAPS aligned, but also that is aligned to classroom activities and classroom syllabus. So during this time, when they're unable to go into a classroom and have physical contact with their educators because of COVID-19, our YouTube streaming services, our Facebook and our Twitter accounts were able to provide curriculum support that is tailor-made for the CAPS curriculum, and our learners are able to receive continuous education in that manner. However, like all other developments, there are challenges. Issues of data remains a problem. Issues of access to devices remain a problem. But the technology is there, Kinelo. The only problem is that it's not evenly distributed. And because of that, you have private schooling systems that seem to have gone far along with online learning, whereas public schools seem to be still struggling because of issues of access, issues of security, not the security of the device, but also the security of the learner, him or herself, against harmful websites and so forth. So there's been, I think what COVID-19 did more than anything else is that it has forced the entire schooling community or the entire educational sector to rethink teaching and learning. And if you look, technology is changing all sectors of the economy. It's even changing how we do things, it's changing our culture, and education is no exception. So the Department of Basic Education has sometimes been trying or toying with a number of ideas. The classroom, the paperless classroom that was launched in 2015, the Smartboard project, the teacher laptop project. We even have a category within the National Teachers Awards, in which we have an innovative Teachers Award segment that aims to award educators who are breaking new grounds in the way of integrating technology with teaching and learning. So whereas there's been some inroads and developments in the way of using online learning as an alternative to physical contact learning, there are challenges in place, but the intake is growing more and more so every day, which has again brought into the spotlight the importance of zero rating certain online resources for our learners, because the issue of data remains a problem. So by zero rating some of these online resources, it allows learners to access those online resources much cheaper, and in that way, everyone is able to receive quality education. And this is how, as SABC Education, as I indicated in your initial question about the mandate of SABC Education, this is how, through strategic partnerships with the Department of Basic Education and other partners in the sector, we're able to provide online learning and so forth.
As an extension of that, Lillian, what is the role of the educator? Surely it's changed. So what is the role of an institution? Is it just to teach you and give you the theoretical and, if it's possible, the practical side of things? Has it changed? What is the role?
I think the role of an educator, quite honestly, we need to understand that it's not just to educate a person, because these young people are coming into your space, and most of the time they are with you as an educator. So just educating them on the content of the curricula is not enough, because when you look at the educators, they're more exposed. They know about the outside world, and this is a platform that they can actually put in place, whereby it's not only about the technical competencies that one needs to know, but also what is happening outside the world. So educators have got a role to play, a bigger role to play, but also we cannot just push it to education alone. Even like Sachin, as a student, he needs to also to understand that he's got to step up. Because there are a lot of stakeholders that are involved in developing these young people, and to leave it to education alone, I don't think it will be a good idea. But education, corporate, everybody that is involved in developing these are our future leaders, and all of us need to sit down and say, how can we develop this, including industry feeding into the curricular development of our systems, so that together we can develop something. Because if we can look at it right now, Kelilwe, everybody is re-engineering, reinventing in their own spaces. And guess who suffers? It's the young person, because they don't know what is happening. So this is the time that they also need to keep their ear on the ground to understand who is doing what, including the educators themselves. Because if they keep information to themselves, then there's nothing that they're doing. Because education without providing a future for these young people is not education. We are preparing them for the world of work, for the world outside the confines of education. So the preparation is very important in terms of understanding that the educator has got a bigger platform to play. And also because they are the conduit of these young people into the outside world. And, the other time I remember I was actually speaking to some, some educators, and I said to them, look, you are the ones who can make or break these young people. Like, I remember when I was growing up, when you are told you're going to be nothing in life and, all sorts of things. And that stuck with me for quite a long time. So an educator, had they told me that I'm special, that I'm ABCD, that would have changed the perception of how I see life. So educators have such a bigger role, a very important role to play, but not only themselves. It includes everybody else. It includes all stakeholders, including parents as well. Because I always say employability starts at home. When you see your kid doing something wrong, you have got to reprimand them. We can't just let them do what they want to do. So it takes a whole village to raise this young person. It's not only educators.
Yeah, speaking of that village, Jonathan, and brands come into that as well, because you move from one segment to another segment as you grow up, from schooling to learning, whether it's a practical learning or whether it's sitting academically learning. And then you reach spaces where you need to be employed. And that's where the brands come in and bridging those particular gaps. There's a really, really cool program. Tell us a little bit more about Marcel, Jonathan.
Yeah, so at Publicis globally, we've developed a learning tool called Marcel, which is really an online learning and collaboration platform. And really what it aims to do is enable and give our young employees the tools they need to learn on demand, because we believe that practical application is sometimes better than parrot fashion. I think you can learn quicker and you can actually make leaps and bounds above learning from a book. And that's really what Marcel aims to do, is give our youth the tools they need to progress in their careers and ultimately become the industry leaders of tomorrow.
So Sashin, you're that industry leader of tomorrow. You're currently studying, and like you mentioned earlier, you were in school for 2 months, and then now you've been learning online for the last while. Programs online, whether it's university or whether it's free or whether it's whatever it might be, how much value has that added to you as someone who's sitting at home right now?
Yeah, it's added incredible value. Being at home, it's very different. It's a whole nother way of learning. It's exceptionally different. But learning online, it's taught me that, like I agree with Lillian, you need holistic education. You need people around you. Learning online is good. It's nice, and it offers a different perspective. I think I've learned that you need to be flexible in everything you do. Life can throw you curveballs whenever, and you just got to expect the unexpected. But staying true to yourself, knowing what you want, and just making sure you work to get it by whatever means necessary, whether that's online, just applying yourself and saying, okay, this is what we have, this is what's in my control, and this is what I'm going to do with it.
Hanyani?
Oh, yes, Kinil. I'd just like to add that also insofar as online learning is concerned, SABC Education has done something amazing, which I think I should mention here. And that is that it has sort of like converted Facebook into a medium of instruction. And this is amazing because if you look at it, Facebook itself was established within an educational context, if you go back into the history of it. So how then does SABC Education use Facebook as a medium of instruction? What happens is, during daytime, we give you the curriculum support, right? We deliver a lesson. Our educators, our class of educators would deliver a lesson, say in physical sciences. And then, with that very evening, that very same evening, you
Right.
get You get to sit there at your home and interact with that particular educator live, helping you tackle those complicated areas of the syllabus. And in that way, learning goes beyond the classroom. But not only that, Kinelu, it also allows the learner, such as Sachin in this instance, to now gain external perspectives on the same subject beyond what his particular teacher in his class has taught him. And I think that is an amazing story, in that if you look at how people are using Facebook and how we have converted it and turned it into a medium of instruction, it is just amazing. In that now we have expanded how you gain access to a subject, to a particular subject. So now you get taught by thousands of educators online. So there is no way that you would say there is no support, therefore I don't understand this particular area. There is no way, because then you have other educators coming online to help you, along with other learners who are struggling in the same area as yours.
On the back of that, we got a question from Lynn to you, Hanyani. Do you know how many teachers have used the SABC in its different formats? How many teachers have used the SABC so that we know that what the learners are learning? So this is a good example in terms of Facebook, but do you have any data around how many teachers and where it's being utilized in terms of the school children themselves by teachers?
All right, so let me understand this question. So now you have learner support and you have educator development support. So this question relates to educators who use our online facilities.
Yes.
All right, so I don't have the stats readily available with me. I'll have to generate that. But you might find this particular story quite interesting. There is a particular school, I think it's in the west of Johannesburg. I can't remember the name of the school off my head. But what happened is that the educator there teaches English, right? And while they were going through a particular English poem, the wife of the author who wrote the poem somehow bumped into them, and she was able to communicate with the educator and the students, giving them more like intimate and qualitative details of how the husband, who is now late, may his soul rest in peace, came about writing that poem and all of that. And it was quite a moving and interesting story. But as to the exact figures or stats of how many educators from public schools or private schools use our online platforms, I don't have those stats readily available with me, but I can try and source them for you and be able to send them to I believe it's Lillian, if I'm not mistaken.
Lillian.
Yes.
Just to add on to what Hanyan is saying, big ups to you for what you've actually done as SABC. But I think the COVID-19 pandemic has really exposed the inadequacies of our education system.
Yes.
And you are SABC, that's what we are doing. But what happens to that one person who has got no access to TVs, who has no access to all those things? And when I say it has exposed all these inadequacies, it's your data. Where will they get the data from? Online, it's a new thing to young people. Some of them don't know how to really package themselves in terms of, now I'm doing online. What am I supposed to do? How do I structure my day in such a way that I'm able to benefit fully from this whole program? So that's why I am actually saying education systems, institutions, education management, industry like yourselves, we need to get together so that we can come up with programs that are beneficial to everybody, because we cannot have one sector of a society benefiting from that. Like, honestly, on online, you find that kids don't have gadgets, just a gadget, a phone that will make them have access to the portals, to the education portals. they don't have TVs, they don't have all sorts of things. So this is where we need to really come together, including even the telephone providers, you know, where we say, how can we package some data so that at least maybe they can be free in some sort, in one way or the other. So this is where I said, everybody is working in their own silos. We are not coming together in reinventing the education system. This is where we all need to come together. Government, industry, captains of industry, everybody. We need parents. Everyone needs to, because also parents need to tell us the challenges that they're actually going through even now. I have 2 kids that are doing tertiary here in the house. One has problems with his institution. The other one does not have problems. And this is where I come in as a parent and I say, hey, this is what the experiences that I'm experiencing with my kids. These are the problems that they're having. So everybody is working in their own silos, and they're doing their own things. And eventually we will have sort of like a banana type of education system if we don't get together. And this is a call to everybody to really, this is the time that, because we don't know when COVID-19 is going to end. It may go like this for 2-3 years. So we cannot have a generation that has been lost somewhere. This is urgent. This is a call to action, and it is urgent. We need to sit down. We need to talk about our education system, and really, because building a curricula takes a long time. It really takes a long time. And this is the time that we need to sit down. Now, the time, it's urgent that we need to sit down. We cannot work in silos anymore, because the person who suffers is this young person. The future of our leaders is actually being, you know, dampened because there's an education that is not really supporting young people.
So speaking of collaboration and making sure that different sectors, whether it's industry, whether it's educators, whether it's young people themselves, come together and collaborate, collaboration is a big key in terms of this particular generation, Gen Z. And Jonathan, the power of working collaboratively it's part of our conversations all the time on social media. It's how people navigate. It's how they put their small businesses together. They work with each other. It's how brands need to communicate.
I think
a little bit
more and more brands are trying to move into a more purpose-driven collaborative space. And I completely agree with Lillian. I don't think we're doing enough. And we're definitely not doing it fast enough. I don't really see much of it on a day-to-day basis, if I'm honest, just through day-to-day campaigns or even big brand campaigns. But there are certainly some big brand CSI initiatives or purpose-driven projects for good that are making headway in this space. But yeah, as I said, I think we can all be doing more to help our consumers or the youth actually make a positive impact on the world. And I mean, I was just thinking now, Lillian, when you were talking, it reminded me of a big ad campaign that was done. Yes, it was years ago. I'd be lying if I gave you the actual year, but it was where an agency collaborated with the education systems, I think, to provide textbooks in the form of USSD. So to give everyone that access, because as you said, like, data in this country is very expensive. Not everyone has access to that data, or even not everyone has a smartphone, for example. So when you've got a creative agency and a big brand around the table with the education departments, and then you can create something that's so simple where you can provide textbooks through a USSD mechanic and give access to those kinds of people. But that's the power of collaboration. And yeah, I don't think we're doing enough of it, if I'm honest.
Sachin, as a young person who you're the target of brands, are there certain things that brands can or shouldn't be doing or should be doing in terms of speaking to you across the board?
No, I agree. And I agree with what Lillian and Jonna have said. But what I also think is you also can give the youth a voice. I mean, we're talking so much about what everybody else is going to do for us, how we need to talk about parents, government, everybody needs to collaborate. But I also think, I mean, what's stopping us from really getting the youth involved? There's so many organizations that so many people don't know anything about, asking the youth and saying, because if you look at the society we live in now, I mean, the youth have a voice more than ever. We have so much opportunities to speak out. It's really about also asking them, saying, what interests you? And I think also, I mean, there's so much stuff like we've mentioned about online platforms, and so much has been done. But I think also some of it gets lost in, we don't actually know what's out there. I mean, we're the generation that has the whole internet at our fingertips, all the information in the world, yet we don't know what to do with it. So I think it's important for brands to not only do it and make platforms available, but also to show us what's out there, to attract us and to say, look, this is what we have for you. We've asked you, what do you want? This is how we're going to help you. And this is what we are willing to offer you. Let's collaborate. Let's make a better future for you, for our country, and for everybody.
In terms of making a difference for young people, that's essentially what you want right now. Brands to speak to the youth more, brands to collaborate with the youth more, and brands to listen to the youth more.
Yes, definitely. I want to, I'd like, the youth that have a strong opinion. I think there's a lot of different opinions in society nowadays, but I think that brands can look and say, well, this is the trends that we see. This is how everything's gone. And this is what the youth really, really want. I mean, there's so much data out there. And also, not just online learning, holistic education. This is what we see that the youth want. And I mean, you'll find that there's so many young people that are willing to go out there, that are willing to share their opinion, that'll tell you this is exactly what we want. And I think if we all collaborate and we really work together with young people, then we can definitely make a better future for everybody.
Hanyani?
Oh, yes. Kinelwe, I wanted to say that for us, because of what COVID has done and because of what technology has done, moving forward, it's two words for us: collaboration and co-creation. And that's why earlier I mentioned that I think about 2 years ago or so, we partnered with Lillian's institution, Rosebank College, and we invite them again to partner with us to make more meaningful and impactful education and to change lives, like we did the last time with the bursary scheme campaign that we ran with them. And the thing about partnering with Lillian or with Rosebank College, I think the benefit that it does is that it sort of like project that particular brand as a caring brand, as being aware of the challenges of the people in the community that it serves. So I think there are many spin-offs to collaboration, and we are always open for business to anyone who has an idea to partner with us. Sometimes we have ideas ourselves, just the will, because I wanted to also say to Sachin, to say, here is the thing, and I'm just expanding on what you were saying. Here is the thing, especially youth in general, strong opinions about anything don't change anything. And when you look at youth, I think they have a lot of strong opinions. And whereas that may be true, it doesn't change anything. Same way as excuses, which may sound valid on the face of it, but the only problem is that it doesn't change anything. Another thing is that a lot of youth have a will to do this, a will to do that, but that's just desire. It doesn't change anything. So my message is youth need to move off their chairs, off their couches, not to raise their hand, need to come forward with whatever ideas they have going. Because right now, when I look at the South African youth right now, I just feel like there's a lot of opinions, a lot of excuses which sound valid, right? Look, I came from nothing, I have nothing. That sounds valid. You were raised poor, but the problem is that it won't change your life. It won't change the situation or the problem that you're trying to solve. So we encourage and invite all youth, especially as SABC Education, to come forward. We're always open to receive any ideas, right? I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's a question of, oh, okay, you're saying we should step forward. Okay, here's a proposal. Let's see. What do you say now? What do you do now? No, it's not going to be that easy. All I'm saying is we need to talk less, especially as youth. I still consider myself youth plus, if you get what I mean.
Oh, Hanyani.
Yeah. So all I'm trying to say is let's especially South African youth, because I'm very interested in this particular group. Right. Let's do more and talk less. Right now, I feel there are sections of youth that do more. And there are walls, there are obstacles, there are barriers, they're not getting through. It's difficult, it's hard. I agree. I'm not taking that away from them. But all I'm trying to say is we don't have a money problem. We don't have a technical skill problem. We have ideas problem. And we do. And,
I think on the back of that.
And in closing, we do also have a bureaucratic problem. I concede there. So it's a complex issue. I'm not taking anything from either side, but all I'm saying is we need to be doing more. Thank you.
I'm glad you acknowledged a couple key things there. I hear what you're saying, but there are a couple key things that are challenges that really are inhibiting a lot of things with regards to access. It's not just, we mentioned this, data is a big one of those things. But I think this is probably one of the most fired up young generations we have seen in a long time. I don't think this is a generation that is complacent. This generation really wants to make a difference. And I think with that, in my session, I'll get to you in a moment. I see that you wanna add on to Hanyani's point. I think it also speaks to brands and authenticity. I think they hold brands accountable for how they engage with them, how they engage with society. I think it's very important right now how brands engage with regards to this period, because they've got a long memory, this youth. And they will spend the money when they have their money with the brands that they feel are authentic. How true is that, Jonathan?
Well, listen, I mean, the youth make up 37% of our population, right? These are the guys who are going to have the future buying power as they progress through their careers. And if you don't grab them young and talk to them on a level that resonates with them, you're going to miss out forever, right? Like, for lack of a better term, I think the youth can see through the bullshit of advertising. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But yeah, they don't care about ads anymore. So if you really don't create something meaningful that talks to them on a human level and an emotional level, they'll completely reject anything you have to say. And that's when your brand becomes dead in the water. Because if you can't capture the youth, you've got nothing for the future. And to be honest with you, I know I've said that I think we can all be doing a lot more, but I think there's also a lot of work out there that is doing a lot of good and is speaking to youth on a level that they understand. I mean, I know personally, we're doing quite a lot of work with the Nestle client, specifically on the Nescafe Classic product, where their entire focus is shifted towards the youth and how we can enable them to grow. And to be honest, it seems to have resonated quite well. I think it's amazing what you can achieve when you understand your audience and you get the insight right, and then get the right people around the table to bring that to life in the most meaningful way possible. And this is where collaboration comes in with what Lillian was saying. And yeah, we have a great client there with Nestle, and I think we're doing a lot of great work that is very youth focused in the space.
Session?
Yes, so I like what Hanyani said all about that and saying less and doing more, and I completely agree. Something that irritates me so much is when people just speak and they just want to do everything, but when it actually, or they just want to say everything and want everything, but when it actually comes to doing, nothing's done. And that really actually gets to me. But what I want to raise, and something that's really personal to me, is being matric last year, I was part of a lot of student organizations, not only just at my school, community service organizations at my school, but also stuff like the Junior City Council of PE, which is a conglomerate of all schools in PE that has representatives. And I think if brands, if education sectors can target those and say, look, you're not just any random youth, you are a student organization. We're approaching you. What are your ideas? How can we work with you? And I promise you, they'll be so willing to work together to say, look, this is what we want. I mean, I know from being in these organizations, that's all that you want, is just an opportunity to make a difference, to say, look, this brand is approaching us. They want to do something. And you must realize in today's climate with social media, everything's advertised. I mean, there's so much little things that if you're a part of, you get this little brand recognition and everything just moves forward. So, it's about doing more and saying less. I think also if we just work together and not just approach, say, oh, let's do a random survey of all the youth, that's what they want. Let's approach student organizations. Let's do stuff like that. I think that's really important.
Jonathan, I'll get to you in a moment. Lillian had her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in the education space as well, and I'll just give you an example of what we did, because coming back to Hanyani, that we need definitely to listen to our young people. What we did, we had to do a research, trying to get to understand how our young people perceive the world of work. And then we also went to market, to Hanyani and them, and say, what are your frustrations, especially in the context of our target market? And when I talk about our target market, I'm talking about people that are coming from underprivileged resources, like when they come into the world of work, what is it that they are lacking? And then we married the two, and we called our program the Graduate Empowerment Program. And this was to empower them on the skills that Hanyani and them are saying, this is what they are lacking, so that at least when they walk into his offices, they know exactly what to do. So in terms of those collaborations, yes, we have to listen to what the youth is saying. And at the same time, we need to build programs that are sustainable in terms of bridging that gap from the classroom into the world of work, so that it's sustainable and these people have a future. I think that collaboration is very important, and listening to young people, it is very, very important, because you can't just do, we're the older generation, we think we know it all, but and then we are challenged in many ways, and we see ourselves with our pants down, and we say, oh my goodness, we should have actually spoken to them. Yes, collaborations are needed, listening to the young people. And also, I think young people like Sachin and them, they need to really collaborate in such a way that when they speak with one voice, because we're listening, we've got so many voices of young people, what they're saying, so we don't get to really know what exactly do you want. So collaborate in such a way that you're authentic in your coming forth, and then we can hear you. I think everybody wants to hear what you're saying, because you're the future leaders.
All right. I'm going to take a question from Siseko in a moment, which will be our last question of the morning. But first, Jonathan had a comment.
Yeah, sorry. Just on the whole topic we've been discussing now about the youth and their voice and how everyone has an opinion. I think the youth also get a lot of flack, right? I think, yes, we are speaking louder than any generation became before us, but I also believe we're doing more than a lot of the generations that came before us. We're not just a generation of talkers, we're a generation of doers. We've taken leaps and bounds to correct injustice of the past when it comes to the planet, when it comes to equality, when it comes to a whole bunch of things. So I don't think we're just all talk, no action. I think there's a lot of action and there's a lot of positive action. But I think if we get those voices to sit at a table with the people that can help progress those ambitions and actually amplify what we have to say and bring it to life, we could do a hell of a lot more.
Hanyani?
Right. I like to add something on the back of what Jonathan was saying. And that is to say, the advent of social networking sites have been some sort of disruptor for broadcasters such as ourselves. So what it has done is that I think it is now the biggest memory youth have, in that, as you know, the online never forgets. So when brands go online, that's one of the biggest problems that they have to deal with. So years ago, we controlled the gatekeeping hierarchy. We control what gets said and what doesn't get said. But now we have Twitter viewers who talk back, and that's a problem. You see, which means as a brand, be it a TV title or just a soap brand or whatever it may be, you can't just put up a campaign online and think, well, people are just going to receive it the way you say it. It's likely that what you see might completely be twisted and be interpreted way differently to what you had initially planned. And that has changed the whole playing field, has changed the whole game. And that's one of the things that I think, as brands move online, whether it's a TV show or just your everyday product and services, you have to be very mindful that what we say today, the same way as things are used in the court of law, it can be used against us in future on another project. You see, so they that has in a way given youth, I think, their strongest memory, in that whenever you say or do something, all they have to do is go online, check what results come up, and use that information either to support your campaign or attack your campaign. And that's the kind of dynamics that we're dealing with at this present moment. Yes.
A question from Siseko. How are collaborations between education and corporates bridging the data access gap for learners? This is a very important barrier that a lot of people are facing from different areas with various financial resources. How are we bridging that in terms of the public and the corporates, education-wise? You can start off, Hanyani.
All right. So about a week ago, the Department of Communication issued directions and guidelines around what sort of online resources or platforms can be 0 rated, so that when me and you, Kinelwe, go online to further our studies, we don't have to pay for data costs. I don't know when that will be implemented, when that 0 rating will come into effect. I do not know the full scope of it, because sometimes you might find that the online resources that me and you visit for online learning and do not fall within the category of online sites that have been 0 rated. But it is the ball is now in the hands of our local ISPs, Vodacom, Telkom, and SAVC, to come into the party by way of 0 rating these designated sites, and also making announcements in that area. Because as soon as that is done, then we'll be able to say, okay, Kineilwe, you can now learn for free online on these particular sites. But will those sites be enough? Will they cover all the resources that you visit online? That we do not know. But what we know is that there are developments in this area. You may also remember a while ago, the Competition Commission, if I'm not mistaken, issued an instruction for our local ISPs to reduce their data costs. I'm not really sure where that is, but there are developments, there are changes. The road is still long. In the Lendlela, it's a very long road that we still have ahead of us. But there are developments, and at the key of it, at the heart of it, is that we need our local telecoms to come into the party, because now data has become much like water. It's life. It's like
a human right.
It's a human right. It's a human right. Yeah. So, because we already have online platforms, online classrooms, we already have everything online. All we need is for the service providers, the companies or businesses that provide us with data, to make that data much more affordable. In some cases, completely 0 rated for our learners. Yes.
Well, hopefully that will come soon, and if we're able to apply pressure somehow as the public, I think that needs to be put as well.
The youth must take to the street.
I think we're only allowed on the streets at the end of the month. What did the president say yesterday? A question from Francisca. There's power and collaboration. We mentioned this a little bit earlier. And of course, as Lillian said, that we are in silos, which makes it difficult, right? Because we're confined to our own little worlds. And this is an important question, who and how, as media, so Sunday Times, SABC, branding agencies, radio stations, where can we get this information? So if there is a space to collaborate, which speaks to Sachin mentioning that there are youth organizations in different spaces that you can connect with and collaborate with, what information are we sending out to one another, where to find collaboration? Media has access to different industries, and we need the right information being published. Is there perhaps, Lillian, Sachin, we'll start with Lillian and Hanyani, start with you. Are there any processes in place to ensure that certain information can be shared from different institutions, where a brand might know where to collaborate? Because as Sachin mentioned earlier, there's all this information, but there's also a lot of information. Where do you start? Are there spaces and places or programs in place, or perhaps in development, so that people can know, I can click on this, I can see where I can collaborate and where I can assist as a brand? Hanyani?
Yes, with the SABC, we are the public broadcaster, right? And in our particular context, we provide educational support to the whole country. So 365 days, 24/7, we're always open to receive ideas. Content ideas, tech ideas, we're open. So what needs to happen is whoever has an idea, visit our website, www.sabc.co.za, click on the link or hyperlink on the tab commissioning, submit your ideas there. I must repeat, I must say it's very important. Pursuing an idea is not an easy thing. So it's not a question of, okay, I submitted and then do I get the gig or not? No, but we are always open to receive new ideas, and we encourage anyone and everybody who has an idea to approach us. Outreach ideas, online ideas, TV content ideas. Visit our website, www.sabc.co.za. You'll find the commissioning link in there. Submit your proposal. We will definitely and duly process it.
Can I put in perhaps a challenge for the SABC?
Yes, we love challenges.
And I think it speaks to the question that was asked. Is there a opportunity to use that very same platform to also have a link that links to other opportunities that people can access in one central space? As you said, it's a public broadcaster, and I think that speaks to the question, where if same process, click on that hyperlink, people can submit, this is what we have available, these are the opportunities, this is where we can kind of collaborate. Would that be possible, or could that be considered?
Okay, Kinebe, I think to practically answer your question, if I'm understanding this question correctly, what you're asking is there a one-stop shop where I can find links to opportunities that are available? Well, there already is. This guy's been around for a very, very long time. So what needs to happen is, first, we come up with an idea. What idea is it? Does it fall within transport? Does it fall within does it fall within education and so forth? And then we go to this guy. He's been there. He's been going on for quite a while. We go to Mr. Google.
Oh, Hanyani.
Mr. Google. Because you see, it's kind of tricky for one company to manage all the links of the other partners, the cost.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you, Hanyani, but you are the public broadcaster. You are the link to every single citizen in this country. All right, we need to wrap things up quite quickly. We're going to end off with a question here. This is to Lillian and to Hanyani. Through brand and educational institutions, the programs that you're looking to offer, has there been collaboration? Has there been discussion, communication to use these programs as part of the job experience for learners as youth? So essentially lining up your the different things. Lillian?
Okay, yeah, coming from the education space, obviously, you know, our qualifications, they are catered to obviously educate. These are technical competencies that we give, but over and above that, we need to have like your work integrated learning, your graduate employability programs that are separate from the you know, just the normal quals or academia, because academia serves a certain purpose, and then the employability skills, this is where we now go into industry, and then we collaborate with industry in terms of, let's say, for instance, IT. What are the new norms? What is happening within the IT space? And then we come back, and this is when we educate our learners in terms of this is what is happening with that in marketing, in management, what is happening. So we as an institution, this is why we collaborate with a lot of industry, so that we get to understand within the context of what we offer as our qualifications. So to have a one-stop shop to actually say this is where you get all that information, I think my message to young people is to keep your ear on the ground, get to know, for instance, if you want to be a doctor, get to understand what is happening within the medical field, because you can't get a one-stop shop. If you see Anyani and them, they are doing what they are doing within the context of who they are. So young people need to now step out and to go and find out from all these industries what they are doing. There's a lot of information that is actually going around, and they need to keep their ear on the ground to see what is happening. But it's very difficult for organizations to actually go out and say this is what we're doing. But young people need to come in, and they need to actually find out what is happening for them to advance themselves.
In 30 seconds, Lillian, is there a discussion around the academic work or the practical experience that you'll gain through going through one of your programs and institution to be counted as job experience? Because a lot of people, it's a catch-22. You aren't able to find a job because you don't have experience, but you don't have experience because you can't get a job. In 30 seconds.
But also we need to understand that people hire not necessarily your qualifications. Qualification is an added benefit. There is more that employers look for in a young person. So, for instance, how you walk into an interview, what is it that you're carrying? Do you have that business acumen? Do you understand what is happening around you? And I think this is what we're finding, what industry is finding out, that not many young people know what is happening around them. So there are opportunities where it's entry level, there's learnerships, there's all sorts of things. But yes, having a qualification is an added benefit to what you're going to become. But at the same time, our programs, especially at IIE, we communicate, we collaborate a lot with industry. So you find that our curriculum development is actually based on what industry is actually saying. So in a nutshell, when I talk about my own space where I'm coming from, the IIE, definitely our programs are aligned to work ready. And over and above that, we have work readiness programs that are in place. From the minute this young person walks into our doors, we start teaching employability.
All right, we got to wrap things up. So we literally have 30 seconds for each person. Jonna, you are agreeing heavily with what Lillian was saying there. But in 30 seconds, please, just what is your desire in terms of this particular juncture that we are in our lives as South Africans, as the youth, for brands right now? What would your 30 seconds be in a nutshell for brands?
Yeah, I think brands need to work quite closely with the other industries and departments that can help affect change. And I think, as I said, we as brands and advertisers speak to more people on a daily basis than the presidents of countries do. And we have a huge role to play in making sure that the right people get around the right table to make sure we come with the best outcomes. So yeah, that's my role for brands, and I challenge brands to do that.
Session, what do you need?
The youth, I know there's a lot of voices, but I agree. I think the youth need to have a unified voice. I think together we need to come through, perhaps through these student organizations, and really take the step to. But one thing I want to mention is it's nice to hear that people are open, that SABC are open to our ideas, but we don't always hear that. So it's nice to hear that now and to see that. But I think maybe making that more known. And I think brands have a very, very, very important role to play, because the brands are what we see. So perhaps if the SABC can't tell us that they're there, they're open to ideas, working, or educational sectors working through brands to say, look, what do you want? And I think if the youth just come together as a unified voice, that we can work together, and the collaboration makes it very easy.
Hanyani, in 30 seconds, what's your stance from the SABC?
All right, Kinelo, we have a show called 48 Hours. In it, we partner with companies, we give career guidance, but at the end of it, the company gives something back to the learner in the form of an internship, apprenticeship, or resources and so forth. Jonathan, as you will be working with those brands, please, we have a lot of CSI projects we'd like to work with you on. Please do give us a call, SABC Education, anytime, any day. Let's have coffee. Sachin, we have an online tertiary education show called Open Varsity. As you'll be making a transition to tertiary, please make use of it. It might assist you in your educational studies. Lillian, would like to invite you back home again. Let's again change lives. Bring those bursaries that you need. People of you think you need those bursaries. Don't
just slide into our DMs, man.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Millennials and Generation Z and DMs, it's a problem. Yeah. Lillian.
There's a lot going on, and my message is we need to collaborate, we need to get together, we need to understand each other, and we can't work in silos anymore, because I always say a nation does not nurture its youth, they don't deserve their future. And Sachin, they are our future, and we need to come together and build these young people so that they can, when we look back, we can say we did something.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. Hanyani, Lillian, Jonathan, Sachin, you've all been amazing. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the questions that you've sent through. And you can continue this conversation, and we'd love to continue and see what's going on. Thank you to everyone who joined us this morning. Also, thank you to our partners, Sunday Times, HDI Youth Consultancy, and Shell for making this possible. Have a fantastic day, and let's collaborate. Let's get this. Oh, as we end things off, Jonathan, you spoke about a coffee company and collaboration and youth. Here's a slogan for you guys. Just like a coffee bean, a little bit of grind gets you a long way. Goodbye, and have a great day.